Hey, what is going on, guys? This is the SS Ultimate Goku back with another video. And today I'm going to be talking about the Shedeur Sanders situation. As we guys know, uh, we are heading into day 3 of the NFL draft, and he is still undrafted. Um, so, what is Shedeur Sanders? Where is he going to go? Well, I think he's either going to the Pittsburgh Steelers or he might possibly go undrafted now. And I think it's a crime and bullshit because all the teams that needed a quarterback have already selected a quarterback. Quarterbacks that I personally think are not as good as Sanders. I had Sanders rated as the best quarterback, including against Ward, who went to the Titans first overall. Um, I had him first. I had him as the best rated quarterback. Now I can understand why the Titans went with the Wart. But in terms of the best quarterback, he has pure pocket packs. Sorry, he has pure pocket passing ability that I really like. And at first I thought he probably was going to slide to a late first, possibly an early second, because more likely than not, early second, because I was thinking, okay, his father, was his coach, so maybe they'll kind of want him to be the second, to kind of show, hey, we want to see what you can do first, prove it. Because I mean, he's not gonna, have his father, being his head coach anymore. His father was his head coach. I mean that's obviously Dion wants to see his son succeed, which I'm sure any father would want to. So he's gonna give him every chance that he wants, that he can get to be him, to make him a better player, which is understandable because he's a father and a head coach of Shedeur Sanders. So it makes sense. But that's why I think it kind of me. There's a lot of factors going on with this. I just, it's just crazy to me to think that all of this is because of his father being Deion Sanders. To me, that is just crazy. But him going to the 4th round with the talent he has is just crazy. I mean, we have seen players get drafted, while they do slide, they still get drafted relatively high. I mean, hell, Tim Tebow got drafted in the late first round. Randy Moss still got drafted in the first round. He was mid. He slid because of, his criminal stuff he did during college. Obviously, Randy Moss, cleaned up his act and he's become one of the all-time greats and everyone loves him. But he had college issues, as we all know. And that slid him down. That slid him down the draft. And I like Randy Moss. But that's kind of the thing where I don't understand this, because he doesn't. Shedeur Sanders does not have a criminal, like, he doesn't have any criminal allegations. He doesn't have any, bad apples in terms of, being, having some type of criminal altercation or some allegation or whatever going on with him. So it can't be that, right? Can't be that. So, what is it? Well, what's the issue here? Is it because his father was the head? The thing is, too, is Deion Sanders being his father really shouldn't play that much into a factor, because if the guy is talented, the guy is talented. You don't select Peyton Manning because he isn't talented. Or you don't select Peyton Manning because his father is Archie Manning. Okay? You don't slide in the draft because of that. That's fucking stupid. That makes no sense. Now, people, of course, said that if Manning's last name wasn't Manning, he would probably not be in the discussion for the first round pick back in the day. Is that's what's playing dividends here? I don't think so, because if the guy is being touted as one of the best quarterbacks in the draft class, then if anything, even if, his last name is Sanders, doesn't mean that he's going to slide. Is it because of what Deion Sanders said? He might not go. He might not have his boy interview teams that he doesn't want him to go to. Because there were some people saying, "Oh, he's not going to go to the Cleveland Browns" and stuff like that. Does that play an influence into this? I don't know if any of that plays an influence, but I do know one thing. If a guy has talent, he doesn't have character issues, why are you not taking him? Are we in the business for winning, or are we in the business for control? Because that's what I kind of feel this is right here. It's like, me? If I needed a franchise quarterback and I see this guy have the talent, then I don't know why I don't draft him. That's my whole thing. I don't know why you don't draft him. Deion Sanders, like I said, when he slid to the fourth, when he did not get drafted in the third round, and we're still talking about him today in day 4 or day 3, for the fourth round, I have to feel like something, with Deion Sanders being his father, has to be involved in this. And everybody likes Deion Sanders. I mean, everyone liked Deion Sanders. When he was drafted as a football player, everyone loved the swagger. Is it because he's the quarterback? Because that was another thing I was just thinking about, was is it because he's a quarterback? Because Deion Sanders was a cornerback. He wasn't a quarterback. Quarterback is the face of the franchise. It's the most important position. Is it because of that? We can have wide receivers and cornerbacks be divas, and that's okay. We like them for that. But we can't do it but if they're a quarterback, we can't do that. I wonder if that has to play more into the factor here, because a quarterback is supposed to be the person that controls the wide receivers and the cornerbacks from being over diva, right? The Odell Beckhams, the T.O.s, and stuff like that. It's supposed to be the quarterback's job to kind of, control them. But if the quarterback is a diva, like the wide receivers and the cornerbacks, they don't want that. I wonder if that has more to play into this than anything else. Because a lot of people like Deion Sanders. I like Deion Sanders. I like me some prime time. When he does the high stepping and all that stuff. So I don't know. I don't know, man. This just to me, and this whole thing with if Deion Sanders wants to do what's best for his kid. I mean, Archie Manning did the same thing for Eli Manning. All right, Archie Manning literally orchestrated. He orchestrated forcing the San Diego Chargers, at the time San Diego Chargers, to trade Eli Manning to the Giants. Okay? So, if that's not egotistical, I don't know what is. Okay? That was an ego move. Okay? Make no mistake about it. I mean, he did what was best for him. Eli Manning did what was best for him, and his father did what he felt was best for his son, but it still is an ego thing. That is still an ego thing right there. Of course, Eli overcame it because he won 2 Super Bowls. Didn't really have a great career, in my opinion. I mean, he had 2 great seasons. Okay, he had 2 great seasons. He never won any other playoff games outside of those 2 seasons. And that's a fact. The only playoff wins he had were those 2 Super Bowl runs. You take away those 2 Super Bowl run seasons, he didn't win any playoff games. And he really had a mediocre career. Okay? And that's why I don't think he should be a Hall of Famer. But people still want to just overlook that just because he had 2 great seasons. You know, he had 2 great seasons that led to a Super Bowl. You know, which I don't agree with that. I don't agree with Eli Manning being a Hall of Famer because, again, he had a pedestrian career outside of the 2 Super Bowls. You take away the 2 Super Bowls, he really had a pedestrian career. I mean, he had less. Didn't he have like less wins as a starter over? No, he was 500 because they benched him. They benched him on the last season because they weren't confident that he could win any more games, and they didn't want him to have a losing record as a starter. And so that's why they benched him the last season that he played for the Giants. Like I said, he had a pedestrian career. He had 2 great seasons that led to a Super Bowl championships, and that's it. And also, he had a pretty good defense. A lot of people forget that front 4 defense that he had in the first Super Bowl they won was one of the biggest reasons why they won that Super Bowl. Eli Manning made a clutch play at the end, but it was the defense the reason why it was such a close game to begin with. But that's my thing, is getting back to Sanders. I think that's one of the biggest reasons to why Sanders hasn't been selected. I think it's a combination of all the things I've said, but I think all these factors come into it. The only team I see drafting him today is the Steelers. If the Steelers don't draft him, I don't see any team drafting him, and it's a shame because, again, he's the best quarterback in the draft. But every team right now that needs a quarterback has drafted. The Saints have drafted. Browns really do need a quarterback, even though they're gutted for the next 2 years with Deshaun Watson. They need a quarterback. They drafted one. Titans drafted one. You know what I'm saying? Every team that really needs a quarterback has drafted a quarterback. The only teams that unless he goes to a team that needs a backup quarterback that already has a starter, if he goes to the Ravens or something like that, obviously Lamar Jackson's going to be the starter, for example. You know what I'm saying? That's just an example there. So unless he gets drafted to a playoff team that already has an established starting quarterback and they're interested in just taking him as a flyer to try and develop him, and maybe get trade value on him in the next couple of seasons. Unless that happens, I don't see him going anywhere. And I think he gets undrafted. And if he gets undrafted, one of the things that I think Sanders, because I guess he does have technically 1 year of eligibility in college because of the way the player structure is now in college football, where you get paid and stuff like that, and you get individual contracts and stuff like that that he could actually go back to college for 1 more year if he goes undrafted. And you know what? I think that would be the best move for him, because if he goes undrafted, he could be like, okay, I'm going to go back to college. He's not going to go back to Jackson State with his father. He's going to go to a different school where his father isn't the head coach, go and ball out, and then go back to the draft next year and then tell him that he's still not a first-round quarterback. That's what I'd do. If he goes undrafted, only if he goes undrafted, because I think if he does get drafted, even if he doesn't sign the contract, he still loses his eligibility of being a college player. It's never been contested before, since the player paid era of college football. But that's something I think Sanders should try doing, in my opinion. But that's up to him. But yeah, I think this is a crime, I think this is just ridiculous. Not a literal crime, but I think this is utter crap that he wasn't drafted yet. Possibly will be drafted today, as the draft is just about to start at the time of this video for day 3. But let me know what you guys think. Who else do you think might take him besides the Steelers? Whether it be a backup team or another team that I'm not thinking of. Let me know what you guys think, and what do you guys think is the reason? Let me know. I'm out of here. I'm the S Ultimate Goku. I'm out of here. Peace.